Hello and good morning. Welcome to Eye Openers. I'm your host, Brittany Droz. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Today I have with me Amar. Thanks so much for being here, Amar.
Thank you,
And
Brittany, for having me.
your last name for me.
It's Amar Gautam.
Gautam. Okay. It's super important to not mispronounce people's last names for me because people mispronounce mine every day. And so I just ask people instead of
Yeah, my
giving.
first name is easy. The second name is the one that's a little
Yes.
difficult.
Same. I've got the same problem. So, cheers to being on here. I think you
Oh,
have
yeah, here's
really,
my coffee.
oh, very nice. I think the glass mug is kind of like the official way you should be drinking coffee.
Yeah,
Or
I
no?
like seeing the coffee.
Yeah, you like to see it. So I do always start by asking what you are drinking because it gives us a little insight into how your mind works in a different way. So,
Yeah.
what is your morning drink of choice?
So typically I do coffee with coconut oil in it.
Ooh,
That's my first thing when I start. You can call it a bullet coffee, but I wouldn't say like it's a true bullet coffee. But I do start with that. That kind of gives me that energy boost in the morning. I don't put like sugar or anything in it. Keeping like dairy free, but not that I'm like dairy intolerant or anything. It's just that I tasted it somewhere and I really liked it.
yes.
So I do. Interesting fact: I do roast my own coffee. So
Whoa, tell us about that.
yeah, I roast my own coffee and then I brew it with different methods. And so that's my morning routine. Really, it's more like morning meditation for me.
Awesome. So I also do bulletproof coffee and I have tried it several different ways, like doing it myself or whatever, but I found the easiest way for me to like actually have this consistently is to have their creamer that they do. And I've got this like $8 like little frother and it makes me feel like I'm having the world's best cup of coffee. I
Yeah,
just
I mean,
absolutely love that stuff.
mine is not that true bulletproof coffee. I just brew it and then just put like a tablespoon of coconut oil and mix it up. That's it.
But I'm also not roasting my own beans, so, who am I to say? I'm clearly not an aficionado like you are. How did you get into that?
So I had a coworker and very good friend. His name is Shang. He lives in New York, and he's the one who introduced me to roasting coffee. I mean, I always loved coffee, but it was more like, oh, let's go drink that coffee and this coffee and talk to that barista and see how they're making and whatnot. But Sheng was the one who really introduced me to good coffee, which is roast it yourself and kind of experiment about how
Yeah,
long will you roast or what temperature you're roasting at and etc. So yeah.
awesome. Well, maybe that's what I need to explore in 2022 and take it to the next level. Always about improving.
It's not work though.
Yeah, I know. I'm really curious. Well, we'll get into your schedule and your life, and I'm curious to hear how you have time for that, considering all you've been up to. So, I want to give you a proper introduction here by sharing a bit about your background and who you are. Some of the people who are watching maybe don't really know you, but they're about to. So, Amar is the CEO and founder of the fintech company HyperLinq. And if any of you know me a little bit, you know I'm kind of into crypto. So this is a super fun conversation and great to have you on. The company provides institutional grade trading software, HyperTrader, that enables traders to track their portfolios, analyze markets, manage orders, and do post-trade analytics. Um, and then lastly, HyperTrade also provides cryptocurrency traders with the opportunity to gain actionable insights to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of their trading workflow. So, how about some, I don't know, layperson understanding of what you do?
So we are a technology company that builds various kinds of tools. So primarily we are operating cryptocurrency market right now, but we are not a broker or an exchange. So we are a layer on top of that. So if you're already trading on like say Coinbase Pro or something like Binance, you could connect those accounts on our terminal, and then you can track those wallets that you have, and you can look at market data. You can do analytics. You can get news feed right there, and then you have a
All in
very
one place. So
all
you
in
can
one.
have all your different wallets in one place and look at
Exactly.
values.
And then you can visually trade and manage your orders and positions. The most important thing that's missing in cryptocurrency trading today is post trade analytics. So we do give you that as well. So you can actually look into your own performance as a trader. So that's what we pretty much do today.
And I see that it says, for professionals, but how about those of us who are amateur, but maybe we feel we're a bit professional?
Yes.
Analytics is important, right, to all of us.
So every amateur is going to evolve into a professional eventually. So we are not discounting the fact that everybody can use the platform, but it's little geared towards professionals as of now. But we are adding more and more features every day to make it more simpler and easy to use for even people who are just getting into cryptocurrencies. Now, to that, that's a nice segue into what's coming next, which is we are actually bringing in onboarding and offboarding ramp for crypto, so you would be able to convert US dollars to say Bitcoin directly on our terminal as well. And then we are
Mhm.
building a lot of other tools around it, so you can manage your portfolios, say you can auto rebalance your portfolio, etc. So at that point it will be more usable for everyday investors. But the way it stands right now is primarily geared towards day trading, and that is perhaps because the co-founders have background in trading. So I worked as well, you can say Wall Street. We worked for world's largest inter-dealer broker, me and my co-founder Karamveer. So we understood that sophisticated traders need sophisticated tools, and that's
Right,
we started building out. But there is a huge demand from all sorts of people to use the platform.
right. That's so exciting, and what a fun time to be in a disruptive kind of industry.
Yep.
So tell me, one thing I love about having really creative and just innovative people on is hearing about what your 3-year vision is. This is something I ask my clients all the time, and it's absolutely essential to be looking that far ahead in order to stay ahead, to be producing something that's interesting to people. So there's a lot happening in this space right now, but if you and I were to speak 3 years from now, what would you be so excited to be telling myself, this audience, about?
That's a good question. Thank you for that. So we started as a tech company, and slowly we are evolving into a financial services company. And we think that there has to be a platform that supports both traditional finance and the new age finance, right? So that's what is missing right now. And as a trader myself, I don't trade in isolation. So I don't trade just stocks or just crypto. And
Right.
so we're trying to evolve this platform into a multi-asset platform. So that's what we see as future, where you can come onto one terminal and you can trade various asset classes. And these kinds of tools right now is available for big banks or hedge funds, but really not available for individuals. And so we're
Mhm.
trying to democratize the whole trading landscape by providing these tools to pretty much
Right.
everyone.
Cool. So how what are you paying attention to in order to get there, right? Because if it were that easy to just create that, right, it wouldn't take you 3 years, and you would have already done it. So what are you
Yeah,
paying attention to every day to kind of get you there?
I think it's really important that we talk to our customers constantly. So we are very, very customer obsessed as a company and as an individual myself. And so we talk to customers almost every day. And I am there as well. I'm very reachable by my customers, like on Telegram or Discord or Twitter.
Mhm.
And so we talk to them and we understand what they really need. So our attitude when we started was more like, oh, we know what we're building and we have this problem. So we're going to solve this problem for ourselves.
Right.
And then everybody will just use it. It turned out that's not true. So we had version one, which we spent like 1.5 years building and nobody used it. And then we launched version two. So we
Mm,
realized that we have to build something that people want to use. And you can get there only if you speak with people, right?
mm,
So my customers are very near and dear to me. And we as company always try to be in touch with them and understand the whole, and this whole landscape is changing. So everything, like every day something new is coming in, right? And so you
yeah.
have to go on that constant evolution path where you can pivot and make changes and add things and remove things. So you have to be pretty agile in this whole industry.
Right. So tell me about between version 1 and 2, because I can only imagine what that was like. You have this awesome idea, it's gaining traction, you've got the team together, like you're ready to come out, with your first kind of product, so to speak. And then, oh my gosh, no adoption. Like, no one's using it.
Yeah.
How did you not just say like, pack it up, I'm going home? Like, no, this is not working. Let me go
Yeah,
back to a safe job.
that was definitely in our in our minds back then. So we
That's
started the
honest.
company. Yeah, we started the company in 2018, and by mid of 2019, somewhere we're like, this is not working out. So let's just shut it down and go back to what we were doing. Because
Yeah,
all of us left our cushiony job, like we had good
right.
salaries and everything, right? And now we were earning nothing, and our own money was going in because we didn't take like initial investment into the company. We started with our own money, and we kind of bootstrapped it. And so we were like, you know what? Before giving up, why don't we just talk to customers and kind of ask them like what they really want? And I
Yeah.
think that was the moment where we decided that no, it's worth continuing this because people love what we built. It's just that it's not what they wanted.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so instead of packing it in and just going back to those jobs, you said you got curious.
Yes.
You dedicated a lot of time and energy into talking to your customer and figuring out what that gap is because you had determined that there was a market need,
No,
but
we
yet,
determined that there is a need for sophisticated tools like what we built finally, right?
right,
But like to give you more context, the initial tool that we built out was more like an arbitrage platform. So you could connect to like 26 exchanges, you can
okay,
trade between exchanges and kind of make the spread. But that's not what people wanted. People wanted a better experience, more efficient way to do their trading workflow. So, for example, something that takes you like 8 clicks to do something on exchange takes you 3 clicks to do on our platform. Something
okay,
would take 90 seconds to do on an exchange would take 3 seconds. That's a huge gain in efficiency. And when you get that kind of efficient tool, you can really be more profitable in such a volatile environment that we see in cryptocurrency, especially. And so it gives them the traders an edge over the market. So that's what they really wanted. So they wanted really a very very fast terminal and efficient ways to get in and out of the market and get a bunch of analytics around it. So that's what we finally built out.
got it. And so let's talk about what is the greatest opportunity in front of you guys right now. You talked about 3 years from now being in a situation where the people could trade multiple asset classes on your platform. What kind of opportunity does that create for Hyperlink in terms of market share or just, whatever you're looking at? How do you define that opportunity?
Yeah, so it's a great opportunity, especially when you see the trading landscape is changing so much. Like more and more Americans are now trading. I mean, 1 in 5 Americans are trading stocks, for example, right? Out of those, 1.6% of them, which is nearly 1 million of them, are active day traders. And so
Wow.
the problem is these guys don't have the tools they need, and so they're relying on like tools that were built like 10 years like back in the day. So it's not really it's not really what you want to use. Like if I have to go and trade stocks, I just get really frustrated. And so we spoke with these people and the users we have, and a lot of them trade stocks and they trade forex. And so we see this as an opportunity to build a unified tool where you can just come in the morning and you can log in and see all your assets, all sorts of asset classes, and then you can look into the market and execute orders anywhere you want, right? So we are very agnostic about the execution venue, for example, right? So you can choose your
Uh-huh.
own execution venue. So we don't
Yeah,
like act like a broker for you,
got
but
it.
we're just purely a tool. So literally, it's like we're the shovel guys in the California Gold Rush, if you put it that
Awesome. I love that. Okay. So what are you looking at? Like when you're going to meet with your team this week or today or whatever, what is the conversation like about getting there? What are you guys focused in? What are
way.
you
I think the first when I wake up, really, I mean, I don't typically check my emails or anything. So we'll talk about a little bit about that. But the first thing I really do is I send a message to my co-founder and say, "Is everything okay?" And that's my first statement every morning. And they do come back saying how everything is okay. But that question is not about like if the business is doing okay or if the platform is doing okay. That question really is there a customer in trouble? And so my whole world revolves around the customer. So we are like, is there a customer that needs help, that needs
Mm,
my? So that's what that question means. And so
okay.
my CTO, for example, even if he has technical problems, but there are no customer problems, he would respond back saying, no, everything is all good, fine. So that's how I start my day, really.
Wow. Okay. That I have not heard that answer before. And I really love that though, because it speaks to not only did you tell us that you're incredibly customer focused, you're illustrating that in exactly the thing you do. And this is exactly why I do this show to begin with, so that people who feel like they're like struggling with this in isolation know that they can see this is how you manage that. And this is how you actually live being a customer focused organization. So having things that you do consistently every day that really illustrate that. So this is one way in which you really make good on that promise. And so give us an example of one morning when the answer wasn't that, oh, we're all good.
Yeah, there has been a lot. I mean, it could be today morning, for example, right? So one
Yeah.
of the customers, like, they were using the platform and they suddenly stopped seeing feeds coming from Exchange, right? And this is happening just for one user. And so we have this Telegram group where people are chatting, and it's like totally noisy right at this point, like because everybody else is like, no, we don't have this problem, and this particular person has that problem. So what do you do? I mean, there could be a typical answer saying, oh, nobody reported this problem to us. We don't see this problem on our side. Maybe something is wrong on your side, right? But that's not how our response is. So I went back to my CTO Kunal and I'm like, we got to look into this. Some person has this problem, and there's just exactly one person out of thousands of users we have, right?
Right.
But we spent time on it this morning and kind of figuring out what really went bad for that particular user. So yeah.
Okay. So not only are you, having that intention to be customer centric, having a kind of mechanism you use to make good on it, but then you also follow through on it. You don't just ask the question for question's sake. You actually do
Yeah, exactly.
execute on it. So that is something that I feel like gets lost all the time. In the work that I do, I'm super focused on leadership development skills, communication workflows, and building culture in the process. And so many people have good intentions, but it's that execution that gets lost, or that consistency, or really building it into the operations and making it just as important as accounts receivable or any other part of the operation, right? And that's where these things kind of fall apart, and people wonder why it didn't work or why I couldn't build an organization as strong as Amar's. And so what is it that, how did you learn that, or what helped you get there?
It's a very good question. I think this is a very typical leadership problem where
Mm,
you want the company or the team
mhm.
to act in a certain way, and then you're not able to make that happen. I think primarily because leaders don't do the exact same thing. So um, I see this as like has to trickle down from top, right? So if I am not customer obsessed or focused, my people are not going to be customer obsessed or focused, right?
Right.
And the reason I learned this is primarily my upbringing, right? So, so my father was a police officer, and
Mm,
so back in India, and in India, you go to defense or like law enforcement. It's always like leaders are at the front. So it's not like leaders are back in like a bunker and then letting all the soldiers go and fight the battle, right? So
yeah.
it's leadership first, right? So I learned that from my father and also my grandparents, and so
Mhm.
we always had this innate desire to serve people and to build things for people and make them happy, and that's, I think, it's inside me and my co-founders as well, and so it just trickles downwards, right? And so that's why we are able to do what we're doing today. And so
Mhm.
it's really about your value system, to be honest.
Right. Right.
Culture and value are intertwined. It cannot be like separated out.
So watching your father kind of lead the way, like not just give orders and have people go, but really like stand in front of whatever the challenge is, kind of helped illustrate for you, and it really hit home that I need to do the same. And if a customer's calling and they're having an issue, I'm not going to put it off on somebody else, the customer service team, or blame somebody or make an engineer do it. Like I've got to step up and create a solution.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of times I put on my engineering hat and jump into with my CTO and my developers. I mean, I've canceled my investor meetings for customers. And I would just, so we work on Slack, for example. We don't do emails. And it's
Yeah.
like emails are like banned for internal communication. So you cannot use email. So we do Slack, but in Slack, we don't do mostly chats. We do mostly calls. So it's like, we just like pick up the phone and call people kind of. So we start this call every time there is an incident, and we just all jump into it. And I don't care anything about anything like, other than customers. So even if it is an investor call or it's something else, I just cancel those and jump right with the team to solve the problem.
Well, I feel very honored that you didn't cancel on me for the show.
Well,
But it was
the problem right now. Today is a good day. I mean, we would have canceled it.
good. So, along this journey, right? You've, like you said, you've worked in Wall Street, you've worked in these other banking industries. What have you seen, whether in any past kind of career or currently in your organization? Were there any moments of breakthrough or insight, or what I would call an eye opener, that changed the way that you kind of saw solutions, like either building solutions in the space or running a business that could be better for everybody, like a more enjoyable place to work, a place that people felt more valued? Was there any one of these kind of like acute moments where it was like, aha, I can do this better, and here's how?
So, because I worked in the financial services industry for more than 16 years and over a decade in an interdealer broker environment, mostly what I observed was they would create the services and the products first and then worry about the technology and the experiences, right? And so that kind of didn't like make sense for me, because users are having bad user experience and you don't care about it. All you care about it is the bottom line, and,
Mhm.
and just to sell the product to them. And because they don't have options, they will buy your product, but it is just counterintuitive to me. So my approach always was that user experience first, then technology, and then services and products, right? Products and services. Now,
Mm.
when we talk about user experience, it's not just about the interface. It is the whole journey. Like, the moment you start interacting with a potential customer until the interaction ends and beyond, right? So it could be like a support chat, it could be a sales call, it could be the product itself, it could be anything, like even the payments, or
Right.
be anything, right? So the overall experience for a user is really important. A lot of times we miss on that, and we would think that user experience is just about the platform itself, but it's not. It's beyond that.
Mm.
And that's what like I particularly understood working in the industry, that nobody cares about user experience. And so that was one thing that we decided to differentiate ourselves on, and we would create the experiences that nobody does in financial services industry, and that's where we can win. And if you see most of the winners, like for example Stripe, right? We use Stripe for payment processing, and there are many other different platforms for payment processing. But Stripe understood that it was so difficult for engineers to integrate the payment processing. So they simplified the whole process. Now that becomes a user experience for engineers. It is not a user experience for the business itself, because business doesn't care. Business can hire 5 different engineers and get it done one way or another, right? But Stripe
Yeah.
really cared about the real user, which was the engineer and not the business, right? And
They understood
so
the customer. Yeah. Who the
so they
customer.
really understood who the real customer is, because now engineers, when they go into a meeting with business and they're like, "Hey, what payment processor should we integrate?" And the engineer says Stripe, and they're like, "Why?" Because it's easy to integrate. I mean, I can get it done in an hour, right? And so they really understood that. But they
Right.
also do it on that, like they have this amazing support system that they have, right?
Mhm.
For example, we
Yeah.
back Brex, right? Brex is an amazing company, which is a
Mhm.
bank. It's a neobank. It's like all online for businesses. And if you go and talk, like for example, for us, when we wanted to open a bank account, Nobody
Mhm.
wants a bank account because we are a crypto business, right? So
Yeah.
go to a
Yeah.
brick and bank
Point.
and then yeah. And
Huh.
so from the very beginning when you sign up and the continuing the relationship, the whole experience matters, right? And so it's really important.
Really, really great point. Um, Most people are just so focused on either the part that gets the greatest return, where they can measure, and
Yeah,
forgetting that it's a whole journey. And even once they hop on and pay you, the journey is not over, right? You still have to provide that after payment experience to really
yeah.
hold the customer. Yeah. Super great point. I'm curious, in your world, when you're looking at when investors are looking at you, right, and you're in this situation, is that are any of those components that we're describing here, being like customer obsessed, working on the whole like user experience, and then also treating, your internal team that way, is that something that's valuable like to an investor? Do you get any credit for that, or no, that's not really part of the conversation?
Majority of investors do care about that because they do understand by now that if you don't care about the customers, you don't have a business, right?
Mhm.
And especially like we just graduated from Y Combinator. So Y Combinator is all about make what people want, right? So they're super customer obsessed, and every time we will go into a office hour with one of the partners, they're like, "Are you talking to your customers? Talk to your customers." Right? That's the only thing they say, like, talk to your customers, and that's the way you can grow. So investors understand that too. I did encounter some of the investors who don't care about that. They only care about the bottom line. So it's up to
Right.
the founders to choose who to work with. And
Right.
so we did make good choices in that regard. So we understand that as we hire a team where the value system should match and the culture should match, we
Yes.
also look the similar stuff in investors. Like, do their value system match with ours or ours match with them? And
Oh,
if it is not a good match, don't take an investor just for the money because
right.
it's gonna be really bad for you in the long run.
Yes, it'd be a painful relationship. I've been brought in to mediate some of those, and it is quite uncomfortable.
Okay.
So, best way to avoid that, align your vision, your values, and really check to make sure
Yeah,
people
and
are
also
good on
it's
that.
really important for founders to be able to communicate this to the
Right. Or
investors.
I've also heard the founders really have the experience of it doesn't even feel like my company anymore, because they ignored that in the beginning or felt like they had to move forward with this one investor or whatever. And that would be so devastating to have worked so hard on something to have it not even feel like yours anymore. I can't, stress enough that I try so hard to make that connection for people between how you show up, your values, what you're really looking to create, living that every single day, being incredibly explicit about it in your communications often and consistently, so that that is ultimately what you do create. And it's not just lip service and it's not just on a poster somewhere, that's really
Yeah,
what you are doing. And that ultimately that does have a huge impact on your bottom line.
yeah,
But
it
people
does. It does.
struggle to make that connection still.
Yeah, I mean, you would not believe this. We don't spend money on advertisement. We don't.
Really?
And so 95% of our business comes through user referrals.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. So you're building such a strong, loyal
customer
following,
base.
right?
Yes,
Customer
I mean, like
base.
our product, I wouldn't say that we have 100% product market fit. I'll just be honest about this on this forum, at least. We still have a lot of stuff to build, but we saw like we launched a subscription a year ago, and we are seeing 85% retention rate, which is
Wow.
great. I mean, if you
That's
85% of your customers are still with you after a year, when your product still needs more, that's an amazing metrics to have.
yes. Yeah. Really, really incredible. What prompted that decision
Um,
to
about
not advertise so that you could create that
oh
kind
no, so it was not a choice really.
of just bootstrapped?
Yeah, we were forced into it. So but it worked out in the end. So multiple things. One, because we did not take investor money early on, we were bootstrapping, so we were really resource constrained, and we wanted to make use of every penny we had in the bank, right? So we were like, let's not advertise unless it's really important. And And the second thing was all these performance marketing platforms, they just banned us because we serve the cryptocurrency market, right? So Facebook, for example, doesn't allow you to run cryptocurrency ads. Twitter doesn't allow you to do that. Facebook just recently opened up cryptocurrency ads, for example, right? And so we were forced to innovate. And I don't remember the author now, but somebody handed me a book about word of mouth marketing. And I read that book and it just opened my mind completely. I'm like, okay, this could be done. And so that's exactly what we did. And
Mhm.
because we were so customer obsessed already, it perfectly fit into the whole scheme.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. I also use that model. I don't do paid advertising, and though we're in very different markets. Um,
Yeah, we now are doing a little bit of advertisement, but that's like 5% of what it is. Like
right.
90% still
I
comes from.
assume that at some point you'll move into that because at that point it'll make sense once you have
Now
enough.
the market is opening up. Facebook is allowing
Right.
advertising. So
Right.
we
Right.
will utilize those opportunities for sure.
But it solves a lot of problems early on that people don't consider when they're just thinking scale, get big, right? That's
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Scaling too soon sometimes can create problems. And I think because we were resource constrained and because of the external forces, we're not allowed to scale that fast. That kind of worked in our favor because the application that we're building is very, very complex.
Mhm.
So working with, especially in B2C, but we have thousands of people using the platform, but it would be hard for us to scale that fast. So we really do things that doesn't scale as much as fast as probably everybody would want, but we intend to do things right. And so for example, we don't have a philosophy of being first in the market, but we want to be the best in the market. So we take it slow, we do it right, we build the things correctly, and then we launch.
Mhm. Awesome. So what do you foresee might hold you back from achieving that?
um
This is where
so
it gets real honest and real vulnerable.
yeah, I think regulation slash lack of regulation in the market, and I'm very pro regulation personally.
Mhm.
And recently, congressional hearings said that's good. At least Capitol Hill is trying to understand the new landscape, right? So it's great. I saw these crypto leaders going explaining things very nicely.
What do you
So
think regulation will bring to help you?
regulation will definitely help us because we want to know which is the right direction to move
Mm.
on, right? So we don't want to be like building things and later on getting stuck, Also, regulation does bring investor protection. And as a business like ours, we want investor protection because unless we give investor a better environment to act in, uh, we will not have that market confidence, right? So it's really important, I think.
Right, right, right. Very good point. So there's this really interesting point in business, and I'm sure you've experienced this a few times yourself, an inflection point where the thing that maybe you were best at or what got you to this very point where you're at now will actually be the thing that holds you back from moving forward. What do you
It
think that is that
does.
exists?
I-
What?
this might sound repetitive at this point, but customer obsession is something that might hold us back because we always like every time we want to do something, we always sit
Yeah,
down, chat about like how is it going to impact customers, right? And so a lot of times we drop things because we think it's not good for them. And so it's both positive and negative, and we have to kind of strike a balance between the two.
mhm.
And so far, we have been successfully able to do that. But maybe we talk in 3 years, and in hindsight, I might be able to tell you like what went wrong.
Okay. Okay. Well, hey, I love that it's all tied together right there through the customers. I mean, you are standing by them through and through, which, having that clear of intention or driving principles is what's going to keep you on mission, keep you focused, and get you there eventually. So I'm super excited for you guys for HyperLink and really what you're creating. I actually can't wait after this call to look at it myself, and my husband and I get on there and figure it out and become
Absolutely. Join our Discord server and Telegram, and we are happy to help.
okay.
Interesting thing is, we only do support using live chat. We don't have like email support. So it's not like you send an email to us and it's lost somewhere.
It's
It's
there.
just chat support. And we have thousands of users. I mean, tens of thousands of users. So imagine how crazy it could get, but we still managed to do it.
Wow.
And we tried like bot support and all that kind of stuff. Did not work. I mean, there's a piece I wrote about in like I think 2020, late 2020, that we are overwhelmed with customer support, and so we are writing some bots. We wrote some bots and we deployed it. It just sucks.
Right. It's
For
also,
customers both.
but that's a super important point you make, that that customer support element has to deliver and exceed people's expectations, because that's how you build trust. And in an industry right now that's struggling to build that trust consistently, to no fault of their own, it's the Wild West right now. But as that regulation comes, some of that trust will be built through those institutions. But right now, it's on you to create that trust with your customer
I
base.
think it will always be on us to create that trust, and I would hold businesses accountable for doing or not doing enough, and we can't put that on regulation or the customers. It's really
That's a
on
fair
the
point.
yeah.
That's a good point. At the end of the day, it's on you. And with that, like holding that responsibility in that way can really drive the decision making that you guys do over there, and what you choose to execute on. I love that. Oh, this has been so wonderful to speak with you. I just love, when people have their head screwed on straight, it makes the interview much nicer for me and for everybody else.
Absolutely. Do follow me on Twitter. I do post things. I'm not as very frequently posting stuff, but I do sometimes go on Twitter. So you can follow me there. Just search for
Okay.
Amar Gautam, and I'm right there. Send
I'm
me a
going to
message.
make
It's
sure
very
that
approachable. Yeah.
I'm going to make sure people get all your contact information in the show notes. It's not up right now, but it will be up there shortly. You're tagged as a speaker in the event page for this. So
Yes.
I can't thank you enough for your time. I'm so grateful. It's been so fun to speak with you. Thank you to everybody for watching. Please do send your comments afterwards. Even if you're seeing this afterwards, I'll make sure it gets to Amar, or if it's for myself, we will take care of it. That customer service, we'll be right
Absolutely.
on it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course, of course. So thanks again, everybody, for watching Eye Openers. I hope you got some inspiration and got your eyes open today. And until next time, guys, have a good